Well, I didn't think it was possible, but here we are. Hip-hop now has its own Slow Train Comin', a record of an important and famous artist within their respective genres having a sudden spiritual awakening and putting their experience into their music. And like Slow Train Coming, the result is going to be either traitorous or inspired, dependent on who's listening to it. Now, speaking purely as a listener who, despite being a non-believer, has a deep appreciation for gospel music, I will say that I land somewhere in the middle in my opinions on this record. On one hand, Kanye is no stranger to gospel music. His flirtations with the genre can be traced as far back as Jesus Walks on The College Dropout, with that gospel influence growing ever stronger in his albums since Life of Pablo. And in terms of production, this is certainly one of Ye's lushest records since probably Watch the Throne. Whatever supposed stability he's found in his new belief system, it certainly pushed him to deliver some of his most impassioned and focused performances after the confusion which defined Ye. Yet, there are still a fair amount of loose ends to be found on this album. The opening choir chant every hour makes it immediately clear that this will not be your typical straightforward gospel album. Its racing pace subverts the common archetype of spiritual music, building from this sort of slow reverence into joyful celebration. This sounds more like an emotional catharsis. There's God which is driven by Yeezy's unfiltered, unauto-tuned voice, which sounds like he's been screaming at the top of his throat in the studio for the past 12 hours.
This my kids, this the crib, this my wife, this my life.
Closed on Sunday finds West advocating for people to follow the example of Chick-fil-A, which, for the record, you should not, and remove themselves from all the temptations of the world to rest on the Lord's Day, making this a hip-hop track about abstinence, which puts this in sharp opposition to not only about 90% of the genre, but also West's back catalog. That's actually another thing this album shares in common with Slow Train Comin'. It's holier-than-thou lyrics. There's also its incredibly short length at 27 minutes, making it the second shortest album in West's discography. Ye still takes the trophy, being 23 minutes, which is practically EP length at this point. So in short, what we have here is a record which is meant to symbolize Kanye's reinvigorated sense of focus and drive, fueled by his newfound spiritual beliefs, which is born out of the same confusion and madness which personified the recording of his last record. And dependent on how you like your Kanye, or even more importantly, why you like your Kanye, you'll either find this a gem or a disaster. Me personally, I find it lacking in any great beats which I put on and can immediately go, oh yeah, that's a future classic right there. It sounds to me like this project was probably more rewarding for the artist than it will be for the audience. I'm interested to see where it goes, or for how long it lasts. For Dylan, it lasted him 3 albums before he turned tail back into conventional rock records. Let's see how many it takes for Kanye.